1574, Constantinople, Harem, Concubines' Ward. While Suleiman the Magnificent died at the age of 72, he was succeeded by Selim II, his eldest son from Harem. Yellow Selim, or Drunk Selim as he is known in unofficial history. He lived in pleasure and entertainment all his life. He was known for his fondness for alcohol and women. At the head of his army, he never went on an expedition and spent most of his time in the harem. When Selim was 50, while chasing concubines in the bathhouse, he slipped and fell to the ground. He had smashed his chest and head on a stone. He died there. His successor to the throne would be Prince Murat III, who would carry his father's reputation further. At first, Murat was far from harem life and was very attached to his wife, Safiye Sultan. In fact, he was emotional enough to write a poem crying because he could not wake up for the morning prayer. Also, he was in the middle of the bloody conflict between his mother and his wife. His mother was busy looking for a lover to make Sultan forget his wife. Sultan's mother started to bring concubines to the harem from all over the empire. So many women across the country were brought to Kapı Plaza that the price of slave women in Constantinople had skyrocketed from 200 gold to 2,000 gold. Sultan Murat could not resist this inviting situation any longer and left all his soul to the sensual harem life. Beautiful women brought from different countries of Europe and the Middle East, wine, music, dance, and fun nights. As a result of being too caught up in the harem life, Murat had 102 children from 130 concubines. He is the Sultan who has the most children among the Ottoman emperors. Of these 102 children, 20 were boys. Ottoman history has been the scene of throne fights since the Principality period. After the sultans came to the throne, they would kill all their brothers who could claim the throne in the future as the first thing. Sultan Murad III died of a stroke in Constantinople on January 16, 1595. On Saturday night, exactly 11 days later, one of the most terrible events in the history of the Ottoman Empire would take place. When the Sultan died, his eldest son, Mehmet, was 32 years old. Mehmet ascended the throne and proclaimed his sultanate. The first edict he gave was the death sentence of his 19 brothers. In the Ottoman Empire, the blood of the descendants of the dynasty was not shed. The executions of these 19 princes were carried out by the mute and deaf executioners by strangling them with rope. Although a few of them were young, others were still children and babies. Especially, the people of Constantinople burst into tears when they heard the reaction of his younger brother, who was eating chestnuts when the executioner entered. "I'll finish my chestnuts and then take them away." This case is one of the most horrific murders in Ottoman history. However, the massacre was not limited to 19 princes. On the same day, 17 concubines and 20 sisters who were pregnant by her father were put into a sack by Mehmet's order and thrown into the sea through the Marmara Strait. The next day, the bodies of 19 princes, mostly babies and children, were coming out of the palace. The people were in deep sadness and anger. It is rumored that after this event, people harbored a grudge against Sultan Mehmet, never loved him, and even cursed his name. In fact, Mehmet could not shake off the weight of his murder of 39 brothers and sisters in total during his entire reign. Therefore, he could never fully reflect the good education he received and the administrative experience he gained during his sultanate years. On the other hand, his mother Safiye Sultan had a great influence on him. Mehmet was obedient, easily persuaded, not insistent, and had a calm disposition. He could not survive for a lifetime from the efforts of the murders he committed on the day he ascended the throne, and always had a dark soul. This is why he hated the harem and the palace, and even joined the expeditions at the head of the army, and did not return to the palace for a very long time. However, when he returned, a worse fate awaited him. In 1603, when Mehmet was 37 years old, he began to have a delusion that his eldest son, Şehzade Mehmet, would dethrone him. In fact, there was some truth to these reports. Şehzade Mehmet found intense support in the Janissary army. The soldiers saw him as the heir to the throne. Mehmet decided that his son had an eye on his reign and that he would cause an uprising among the soldiers. He had his prince strangled while he was sleeping in his apartment in Topkapi Palace. His eldest son's funeral was taken out of the palace in the morning with a shawl on his coffin, and he was buried in the Şehzade Mosque. In addition to Şehzade Mehmet, the mother of the prince and about 30 of his servants were killed by being thrown into the sea. It is said that Safiye Sultan, the mother of Sultan Mehmet III, had a great influence on these execution decisions. The Sultan, who killed his brothers on the day of his ascension to the throne at the age of 29 and killed his son at the age of 37, was now completely withdrawn. When he was in such a mood, Mehmet was deeply affected when a madman he met outside the palace said, "You can't get rid of the accident that will come in 56 days. Don't be heedless, my Sultan." The Sultan, who was cut off without eating and drinking, died of a heart attack 2 months after this event, on December 20th, 1603. His body was taken to the Hagia Sophia Mosque for the funeral. A large crowd gathered and the funeral prayer was to be held, but the new ruler, the eldest prince, 13-year-old Ahmet, was not there. The religious officer Sheikh al-Islam went with a few people to invite the Sultan for the funeral prayer. Sultan Ahmet was sitting on the throne thoughtfully and rejected the invitation of him with these words: "The man who killed his 19 brothers and 1 son to claim this throne is a murderer, even if it is my father. I don't go to a murderer's funeral. You bury it." Sultan Ahmet did not attend his father's funeral and abolished the fratricide law. Instead, he brought the system that foresees the ascension of the dynasty member, who is the eldest and most sensible in age. After that, brotherly blood was not shed again to take the throne. However, this time, the sultans who came to the throne brought the cage system to secure their position. Cage, the room where the princes who are likely to ascend to the throne are kept under house arrest by the guards, so that they do not try to overthrow the sultan. All the needs of the princes are met, but he cannot take even a step out of this room. There would even be sultans who would spend 45 years in a room and then sit on the throne. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.